So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
I think if you really want to know the truth about the invasion of Iraq, there's clearly some incentives for the invasion. Oil, securing oil was one of them. Establishing permanent military bases in the region was another one. But a far less talked about reality is Israeli plans, which made clear that the balkanization of surrounding countries, in particular Iraq, if we go to Oded Yanan's plan for Israel in the 1980s, it lays out very clearly a strategy of destabilizing all of the surrounding areas of Israel. This includes Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq, and even Egypt and Saudi Arabia.
And today the United States must destroy the same regime because a nuclear-armed Saddam will place the security of our entire world at risk. And make no mistake about it, if and once Saddam has nuclear weapons, the terror network will have nuclear weapons.
And this long-term goal is part of the Greater Israel Project. So in terms of the sectarian divide you see happening in Iraq today, it's actually all part of a very well-designed plan to try and secure the goal, this fantasy goal of the Greater Israel Project.
Президент Обама упомянул об одной из угроз, это ИГИЛ. Ну а кто помогал вооружать людей, которые в Сирии боролись с Асадом-то? Кто создавал благоприятный политический информационный климат? Кто подталкивал к поставкам оружия? А вы чего, разве вы не понимаете, кто там воюет? Там воюют наемники. В основном. Вы знаете, что там платят деньги? И они воюют там, где платят больше. Вот они вооружились, им платят определенную сумму. Мне даже называли эти суммы, которые им платят. Они там воюют уже с оружием, все, у них уже не отнимешь. Потом выяснилось, что в другом месте чуть-чуть начали побольше платить. Они там туда перетекут. Вот они захватили месторождения нефтяные, там, скажем, где-то в Ираке или в Сирии. Нефть начали добывать. У них эту нефть покупают, транспортируют, продают. Почему санкции не накладывают на всех, кто это делает? А что, разве Соединенные Штаты не знают, кто это делает? Это разве не их союзники этим занимаются? У них что, нет силы, возможности повлиять на своих союзников? Или они не хотят влиять? Зачем они бомбят?
We know that the capacity of ISIS is limited. We know that they're selling around $3 million per day.
Okay, you say it's limited, $3 million per day. Though presumably that goes a long way in helping Islamic State with their cause. Who is buying the oil from them?
Actually, what is very weird, we know that the enemy or the moral enemies of the ISIS are buying the oil. In particular, we know that there are certain rumors that Syria and Turkey are buying this oil. And what is very weird, in case we want to actually to destroy the ISIS, Islamic State, so why to fund it with money? Because they need the money to fund the terrorists and to fund their militants and to stay alive. In case we are serious about destroying ISIS, and we know how we can track easily the shipments going from Iraq to south of Turkey, why not to destroy these shipments? And why to keep on funding the ISIS? So lots of questions are raised. Do we don't have any choice, that's why we need the oil? Or actually we have other sources of oil? I can understand maybe Syria, they don't have other source of oil for the current moment, because actually they are in a severe war and they don't have other supplies, but a source of supplies. But Turkey, for instance, they do have, I guess, other source of supplies. So are they willing to buy the oil because it's cheap? Because in order for economic purposes to have their cost lower? Or actually, what's the reason behind it?
We win this war against ISIS.
Donald.
We're not winning anything right now.
No,
that
we're
I can
not.
tell you.
Do you think we're winning against ISIS
I just
right
said,
now,
no,
Joe?
we're not. I'm talking about how we win the war ultimately.
Joe, we will win by being firm, by being tough, by being smart, and we will draw them in. Right now, we're not drawing them in. Right now, things are going on right now that you don't know about, that I don't know about, that nobody. Right now, there are things that are going on that you have so-called people that you think are on our side, and they're not reporting it, they're not talking about it, and in some cases they're involved with it. I mean, look, I'll give you an example. Some of our so-called allies that we work with and we protect them militarily, they're sending massive amounts of money to ISIS and to Al-Qaeda
So
and to others.
who are you talking about there?
You know who it is. What do I have to bring it up for? You know who it is.
Because you're running for president. Are you talking about the Saudis?
Joe, other countries are giving massive amounts of money. People from other countries are giving massive amounts of money.
Are you saying the Saudis are doing this?
Of course they're doing it. Everybody knows that.
Okay. Any other countries?
There are, but I'm not going to say it because I have a lot of relationships with people. But there are. And you know that, and everybody knows that, and nobody says it. Nobody talks about it.
You're not even saying the countries that are doing it right now. Why aren't you willing to name those? You say you have a lot of relationships
Joe,
there.
All you have to do is check your records, and our government knows the countries.
بس ثواني صوره.
هاي 12 سرعة. هون
12.7.
شو هذا؟
هاي في صناديق ما بعرف.
You tell the story about how you tried to find out what they call the Mossad when they deal with publicly?
I thought it was a reasonable question, but the trouble is you can't pick up the phone book. There's no Langley in Israel that you can look up, CIA, or in our case, the Mossad. We thought we should ask, what shall we call it in English? You can translate the Hebrew words, as I said, Mossad is institute, but when they write a letter to their friends in the CIA or the British intelligence, what do they call themselves? It took a while. It was a matter of asking the Prime Minister's spokesman. The best you could do, because officially the Mossad is under the Prime Minister's office. And I think he sort of wondered why you want to know and all that, so we explained. And he came up with the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. I mean, if it were to have initials, it would be ISIS.
Declassified documents were published showing that as early as 2012, U.S. intelligence predicted the rise of Islamic State. The report shows the powers who supported the Syrian opposition, like America, envisioned the creation of an independent principality in eastern Syria and supported it. They also clearly predicted the establishment of Islamic State through its union with other terror organizations in Syria.
Every single man, every little spot, everything is the Jews. Not a single piece for other people, only for us. And we won't give anybody else, just for us.
Americans stand shoulder to shoulder in our commitment to Israel's security.
Palestine has not existed since 1948. let's say Israel comes under attack from its enemies, does the United States stand with Israel in terms of giving military foreign aid?
Well, absolutely we stand with Israel, but I think what we should do is announce to the world, and I think it's pretty well known, that any attack on Israel will be treated as an attack on the United States.
The reason why I would say that is because we know without a shadow of a doubt that Iran will take a nuclear weapon. They will use it to wipe our ally Israel off the face of the map.
Well, my friends, Israel's security is non-negotiable.
I thank so many of you here for your support and your counsel, and I am deeply honored to be the first sitting president ever to address this conference.
Now, most Americans have no idea that Israel has made terrorist attacks against us, but here are the facts. The first Israeli terrorist attack occurred in the 1950s in what is now called the Lavon Affair. The Israeli government sent Jewish agents into Egypt to blow up American movie theaters and libraries. Only by a quirk of fate were the lives of Americans saved. A Jewish terrorist bomb went off prematurely. His mishap led to the capture of the entire terrorist cell. Now, this attack was far worse than a single act of terrorism costing some lives and property. It was meant to lead America into murderous, unjust war against an innocent nation, Egypt. A war that would have cost the lives of thousands of Americans and cost billions of dollars. Thank God that Israel was caught so red-handed it had to admit that the terrorist attack came from its own government. In 1967, Israel made another terrorist attack against America. On a clear day, Israel attacked a fully marked American intelligence ship, the USS Liberty. The Liberty was in international waters, flying a huge American flag. It had been closely monitored for days by Israeli pilots in a vicious surprise attack. As our boys were waving to the Israeli fighter pilots, they began dropping napalm on them, fired hundreds of rounds of cannon and machine gun fire upon them, and then they came in with torpedo boats to sink the Liberty and kill every one of our boys and send them to the bottom of the sea. The Israelis even machine gunned the life rafts the crew had deployed when it looked like the Liberty might sink. The Zionists tried to kill every American. Now, Egypt was to be blamed, just like the Lavon Affair. The only thing that saved the Liberty was the bravery of its sailors, who, under merciless Israeli fire, rigged a makeshift antenna to issue an SOS to the Sixth Fleet that named Israel as the attacker, and that forced Israel to break off the attack.
Not appear that there's any kind of an effort up there yet. Now remember, oh my God.
That looks like a second plane. Has just hit.
I didn't see a plane go in. That just exploded.
We just saw another plane coming in from the side.